Project Literacy Lab is an experiment in how do we scale up the world's most effective entrepreneurial solutions to combating illiteracy.
When you bring 16 social enterprises together in one space at one time, you can come up with some amazing solutions.
So now I'm going to introduce you to Vish, who's going to talk about the Kardai Path, which is a platform which, I'm told, delivers better results than 11 hours of traditional classroom study if you have 1 hour with that platform. So that sounds like quite an amazing figure. So for a $10 investment, students apparently can have a functional proficiency of a language in 96 hours. So I'd quite like to try that myself with something like Mandarin. I think that would be a good test. So welcome, Vish.
So which of you wants to give me 96 hours and 5 pounds and speak a new language? Good evening and namaste. How many of you remember Slumdog Millionaire? You do. This is where it happened. This is Dharavi in Mumbai, which is one of Asia's largest slums and home to 1 million people. Our story, though, begins in Michigan, in the US, where my son was born, and he grew up among beautiful books. And one of the series that he really took to was the Disney audiobooks. When we returned to India, we felt that we should create something, a similar storytelling experience, and we began our publishing endeavor called Kardai Tales. Very soon that became popular, and a lot of schools started using Kardai Tales audiobooks as language enrichment tools in the classroom. We received an email from a non-profit who worked with slum schools in Dharavi, and they wrote to us saying that, English was always such a challenge. And now with your audiobooks, suddenly the children are enjoying English, they're learning English, they're bursting with it. When we had a chance, we visited them. What we realized was that these children for the first time were actually engaging with the story, but they were engaging more with the soundscape, the music, the illustrations and everything else, but not necessarily engaging with the language itself. But we saw something else fantastic. Each and every one of these 3 to 6-year-olds spoke a minimum of 3 languages. Their mother tongue and the 2 local languages that they were in the environment of. Here we were trying to teach them a language, and there they were demonstrating that language learning is ridiculously easy. This was the moment when the apple fell on my head. In Dharavi, the experience at Dharavi actually triggered a few thoughts. Whether it is a child in the US learning Spanish, or a child in UK learning German, or a child in China learning English, when language experience is restricted only to the classroom, they pass exams, but they don't really speak the language. In India, we are effortlessly multilingual simply because we live in a multilingual environment. I speak 5 languages, which I was speaking by the time that I was 4. The one language that I had very good teachers, I went to a very good school, and I was the state topper in that subject, is French. And I cannot speak 5 sentences of French. We see this all around us actually in India. Families move from one part of the country to another part of the country. In just about 3 months, there's a child who's just learned a new language without any formal learning process per se. This was something that for the last 14 years we felt we must study intensely and figure out what are the conditions that actually result in that kind of phenomenal learning outcome. This was the beginning of what we call the Kardai Path methodology. Kardai Path mimics the way we naturally learn language from the environment. It is possibly the only language pedagogy in the world where we say that you acquire language proficiency without being taught a single word, a single meaning, or a single rule of grammar. In fact, we have come to realize that when you teach the word, thinking in the language is impaired. When you teach meaning, comprehension is impaired. And when you teach grammar, the natural way in which we gain syntactical understanding, that is impaired. There is unconditional immersion in the language, which is supported by a lot of nonverbal cues and context, which actually enable prediction and discovery of the language. So the entire language learning is 100% derivative or discovery. The classroom itself is plenty of fun. There's action, there's music, there's dance, there's stories, there's theater. The learning itself is subliminal, but extraordinarily powerful. Several studies have been conducted by third parties. 1 hour of Kardai path gives you the same impact that 8 to 12 hours of conventional language learning in the classroom gives you. And in just about 96 hours, and at a cost of just $6, you're able to take a child from 0 to proficiency in English. This is extraordinarily important in India because India being the society it is, English is the common language, and millions of children study in English without knowing English. From being contemptuous of our thought processes in the beginning, the schools that use Kardai path have now become our evangelists. It is not easy for a school to adopt Kardai path because it is not part of the curriculum. So in order to create the time and so they have made a leap of faith in order to invest in Kardai path, both in terms of the time and money. And that is how, but the impact of Kardai path is impossible to ignore. So that is one of the reasons why the growth has been. So we now are in 3,000 schools. There are 600,000 children who have learned English. Compared to the kind of effort that used to go into it, they have learned it effortlessly, they have learned it quickly. I hate to be standing here in London and telling you this, but I predict that in the near future, the Chinese, the Japanese, the Germans, and others will learn English not from Britishers or Americans, but from the Indians. Thank you very much.
Vish, thank you very much, and I'm very happy to give you a $5 and 12 weeks of my time, 8 hours a day, teach me Mandarin. I think that adds up.